Hello everyone and welcome back to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice, where things have gone off the rails. I'm pretty sure Phoenix is being blackmailed, and one of our witnesses went insane. They're better now, so we have that going for us. Mr. Wright sure is acting funny. I mean, he's famous for going out on a limb, but that last assertion was just plain crazy. It's either a bluff or a Hail Mary. Either way, it doesn't make much sense. Maybe there's something we're missing here. Although he seemed perfectly normal when we spoke earlier. Apollo, I have a bad feeling about this. I'm going to check up on him. What's going on with you, Mr. Wright? Hey, Private Justice. Oh, Sarge. Forgot to mention something. On the night of Papa's murder, a strange thing happened. Oh, but why are you only telling me about it now? Well, I didn't say anything before because I thought Papa's death was an accident. But now that we know otherwise, I figured it might be important. There's still more to this case? When I left my room and lost consciousness, I passed out right here. That's right above the coffee bar. But when I came to, someone was pushing my wheelchair. What? I was so scared I beat a hasty retreat as fast as my wheels could take me. Do you know who it was? No, it was pitch black. Plus I fled to my room so fast I didn't even have a chance to turn on the lights. Maybe it was your father. No, he would have said something to me. Besides, I'd have known if it was him. So then it could have been your father's real killer. My thoughts exactly. But you didn't report this to the police? It didn't even occur to me. It's okay, you were obviously still upset, so don't beat yourself up over it. Hey Apollo, it could be really important information. I think the act of pushing Sarge's wheelchair could be part of some bigger scheme. It's hard to see why else the killer would have done such a thing. Guess I should take her statement down as evidence. She'd fled to her room when she realized someone had moved her while she had been unconscious on the floor. Okay. Oh, welcome back, Athena. Uh-oh. What's with the long face? How'd it go with Mr. Wright? What should I... Athena? Oops, sorry. Zoned out there for a sec. The recess is almost over, so let's go. Ha 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 ha. What was that all about? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Phoenix is being blackmailed or coerced or something. Alright, court is once again back in session. Now, Mr. Wright, about that last objection you raised. We, the plaintiffs, still believe that the defense is yet to sufficiently prove its case. They claim that, according to legend, the Founder's Orb would bestow great spiritual power. Yet the relic in question has failed to do so, therefore it has failed its own test. I see. He's sticking with that ridiculous argument? Furthermore, even if it is the Founder's Orb, it can't be awarded to the Defiant Dragons. After all, they were the ones who killed Dr. Buff. What are you talking about? That was already proven to be false. There are no grounds for asserting that the Defiant Dragons murdered the Doctor. No, but I'm afraid there are, Mr. Justice. Your Honor, I'd like to present new testimony to this court. Testimony that will show that Datsa Rebel did in fact kill Dr. Buff. What? Very well, you may call your witness. I guess Mr. Wright found another new angle. What new testimony could there be this late in the game? Oh, plenty. I'm assuming what's-his-face is going to come here and make up a bunch of crap. Yeah, there we go. Sign's a little broken there, dude. Fellow citizens, it is I, politician, the once and future representative of the people. Jeez, not him again. My client divulged new information to me during the recess. He remembered something he saw, you see. Something crucial to this case. Very convenient. That's his crime.
It was around 11 at night and I was out on a mobile meet and greet around the village. That's when I saw Dr. Buff being murdered from outside his study window. Mr. Rebel snuck up from behind and struck him on the head. His weapon of choice, a suitcase. A big strong man like him could easily swing a heavy suitcase into someone's head.
Lies? You saw the murder as it happened, and you're just telling us now because...
I saved the best for last. It's a tactic known to all political greats.
The murder weapon was a complete mystery, but my client's eyewitness account has finally brought it into the light. Doesn't make any sense. According to the autopsy report, Dr. Buff was struck in the head by the corner of some object. I suppose that could very well be the corner of a suitcase.
Objection!
But eyewitness testimony isn't the same as hard evidence. Oh? I wouldn't worry about that if I were you. What's that supposed to mean? We have physical evidence too. A luminol test revealed. Crap. The doctor's blood on Mr. Rebel's suitcase. Really? But how does that prove Mr. Rebel used it as a weapon?
Objection!
You should know the answer to that, Mr. Justice. Since you know as well as I that the suitcase is covered in his fingerprints. Ugh. Forgot we dusted it right in front of Emma. We got this. The turnabout terror strikes again. This is quite convincing testimony and evidence. Nevertheless, you may proceed with your cross-examination, Mr. Justice. Oh boy. We'll get him.
Hold it!
This is no problem. You were on a so-called mobile meet and greet at 11 at night?
That's right, it's the perfect time because everyone is at home. You should have seen how the villagers' eyes teared up when they heard what I had to say.
Tears of frustration, no doubt. You weren't riding around in your palanquin?
That's right, some village idiot reported me to the police. I've been banned from using it after dark.
No wonder with all that noise he makes. So what exactly did you see then?
Hold it!
Oh, but sounds like you witnessed something rather shocking.
Indeed, I didn't even believe it at first. I mean, a vicious murder in Crane.
There haven't been many murders there, I take it.
If I'm elected, I promise you that such a terrible tragedy will never happen again. The vote for me is a vote to banish murder forever from our beloved Crane village.
Yeah, good luck with that. Mr. Attention Wimperson, please tell the court what you saw at the scene of the crime.
Hold it!
He snuck up from behind? So you're saying the doctor never even realized Mr. Rebel was there?
That's right, he was utterly absorbed in a book.
I see. What did you see Mr. Rebel do next?
He climbed up the bookshelf ladder and dumped a bunch of books down on the body. You believe he was trying to make it look like an accident. But that idiot didn't realize I could see everything from outside the window.
Well, those statements doesn't feel right. Your Honor, I believe the witness made an important statement just now about Dats is an idiot. Crime was clear, or the doctor is reading a book. I feel like we established that the crime was clearly visible. Important statement about reading a book. Huh. believe the witness made an important statement just now about... I feel like you can pretty clearly see from that tree where he says he's standing. Was it that he was reading a book? But why wouldn't he have... Oh! He couldn't have been reading a book because he wouldn't have been able... Okay. Ugh. The doctor was reading a book at the time of the murder? That's vital testimony. Very well, the witness will please add that statement to his testimony. Do I read a book? Nope.
Objection!
Got him. The doctor was standing in front of the bookshelf, absorbed in a book, you say? I'm sorry, but it seems your testimony is completely unreliable.
That's quite a bold statement. Well, let's hear you back it up. I challenge you to prove that I'm anything but 100% reliable.
Haven't we already proved that like 6 times already? It would be my pleasure. Lately, it seems the doctor's eyes had gotten so bad he needed reading glasses. However, his reading glasses were over on his desk. So you see, there's no way he could have been reading in front of the bookshelves. I'm sorry, Mr. Attition Wimperson, but I'm going to have to ask you to explain this discrepancy to the voting public.
Yeah,
You what?
I'll explain it, you lowly cur. I simply made a mistake, you see. The doctor was actually sitting at his desk when Mr. Rebel hit him over the head.
But then the doctor would have been facing him. Surely he would have seen him and tried to run.
Dr. Buff was nodding off. I could tell because his eyes were closed and he wasn't moving.
Sounds more like what you would do. Then how do you explain the fact that he was struck in the back of the head? Isn't that something that should be impossible from the front of the desk?
Oh, about that. He bowed his head when he nodded off. That's when he was clobbered.
So that's what you saw. Well, Mr. Justice, that sounds like a perfectly reasonable explanation to me. Do you have a problem with the proposal that the doctor was struck while nodding off? A big problem. There's a problem, a very big problem. The witness's statement doesn't hold up under the slightest bit of scrutiny. Is that so? Then you please show this court what evidence you have to justify this. Gladly, Your Honor. This shows the problem with the witness's claim that he saw the doctor nodding off. Is it this? Because he wouldn't have been able to see it from his desk. He wouldn't have been able to see him nodding off from outside at his desk, if that's where he was. Because the bookshelf would have been in the way.
Take that!
A diagram of the study. Mr. Attition Wimperson allegedly viewed the murder from here. And the doctor was allegedly nodding off here. But from his vantage point, the bookcase would have blocked the witness's line of sight. Well, yes, I believe you're right.
But...
Oh, he broke it again. He's gonna need a lot more tape. The fact remains, my client knew that the suitcase was the murder weapon. So he definitely has first-hand knowledge of the crime scene. I'm afraid I have to agree with you there, Mr. Wright. But then we have to ask ourselves, from what vantage point did he see the murder? What are you insinuating, Mr. Justice? From what vantage point could Mr. Attition Wimperson have seen the dozing doctor? Once we determine that, I believe we'll finally see the truth behind this incident. The witness saw the murder from right here. Ooh. Like right in front?
Take that!
You gotta be kidding. But that's... It is indeed, but everything only makes sense if the witness was there in the study. Inside the study, but that's the scene of the crime. I know. Mr. Titian Wimperson, the man who claims to be a witness to the murder, was most certainly in that very room. Apollo, are you suggesting... Mr. Titian Wimperson, weren't you the one who actually swung that suitcase?
Yeah.
What you're proposing is ludicrous. My client is a small, thin man, whereas Mr. Rebel has the musculature to pull it off. He has a point. I gave up trying to lift that thing after one go.
That's right, he's the only one who could have lifted such a heavy object. Now do you understand? The rebel that's a rebel is the doctor's killer.
How'd you know how heavy it was? As long as the suitcase is the murder weapon, the suspicion falls entirely on Dats. You have to poke a hole in Mr. Wright's argument somehow, Apollo. Oh, I will. And with his own technique, no less. If Mr. Titian Wimperson couldn't swing the suitcase around, we'll just have to consider another way he could have used it as a murder weapon instead. I'm going to turn this case on its head, Mr. Wright, just like you taught me. You talk big, Mr. Justice, but do you have what it takes? Well, this should be interesting. Mr. Titian Wimperson's testimony has been filled with one inaccuracy after another. First, he stated that Dr. Buff was in front of the bookshelf. Now he claims that the doctor was sitting at his desk. So where was the victim really when he was killed? Also, where was his killer, and how was the murder weapon really used? So the important thing here is the position of the victim and the killer relative to each other? Yes, Your Honor. If they were positioned in a certain way, it would be possible to use the suitcase as a weapon without lifting a finger. You can't mean. I would ask the court to recall the study's layout. It's quite distinctive, as you can see. Now, if Dr. Buff were sitting in a certain spot and his killer was at a certain other spot, the suitcase would become a weapon anyone could use. Very well, Mr. Justice. Where was Dr. Buff's killer at the time of the crime? He was upstairs, but where? Next to the coffee bar?
Take that!
There! Oh, that's... This should wrap things up nice and pretty for you, Mr. Wright. I would ask the court to recall the study's layout, but this time, instead of thinking in 2 dimensions, let's think in 3. Only then can we clearly see the killer's method at work. Oh, here we go, fancy 3D graphics. The killer didn't have to swing the suitcase. If he used gravity to his advantage, that is. That's right, it was the plaintiff, one Paul Titian Wimperson, who used the suitcase. He pushed it from the 2nd floor. Yep, that would do it. And sent it hurtling down onto Dr. Buff, who was sitting at the coffee bar. Got him. The psychology book had been at the coffee bar, no doubt. The doctor must have set it down there after he'd finished reading it, or the like. But his blood got on it, which is why the killer thought to hide it in that mountain of books.
Objection!
Quite the entertaining theory you have there, Mr. Justice. But there's no evidence that the murder took place at the coffee bar. I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Wright. I say that evidence of the murder occurring at the coffee bar exists. That book, we literally just talked about it. The evidence does exist, and I'm going to show you. You are? This right here is proof that the murder took place at the coffee bar.
Take that!
This brown stain was determined to be coffee. What's more, it was still a bit damp when we saw it yesterday morning. Ah. One look at this book speaks volumes, I'm afraid, Mr. Wright. It tells us the doctor was having a cup of coffee at the coffee bar. That's when the suitcase came hurtling down, striking him on the head, causing both his blood and his coffee to spatter onto it. Well, Mr. Titian Wimperson.
What motive could I have possibly had to kill Dr. Buff?
There it is, the final excuse cornered killers are so fond of. Well, the doctor never returned your crystal to you, did he? Instead, he hid it in the cave ruins. Telling him that the Defiant Dragons were a dangerous bunch was a huge blunder. All it did was make him hide the orb. Your lie came back to bite you in the end. Even worse, the doctor saw the news reports, so he knew the relic was the Founder's Orb. Being the conscientious researcher he was, he knew he had to return it to its rightful place. And that meant keeping it out of your hands.
No.
You were so angry that he refused to return the relic to you that you killed him with your own hands. Isn't that right, Mr. Titian Wimperson? Got him.
That is...
Uh-oh. Apollo, please don't accuse my client of murder. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is... So, what? Now I want to know what Titian has on over Phoenix. What do you mean, don't accuse him? Why would you even say that, Mr. Wright? What I meant was, he's a promising politician with a bright future ahead of him. It's in our nation's best interest to avoid burdening him with the taint of a scandal. Say what? That thing has seen better days, for sure.
Right, you'd better do something to change the current courtroom climate. Or I'll be charged with murder. You know what will happen to her if that happens.
So it's something on No! Is it Maya? Is it something to do with Maya? Or Trucy? I mean, Trucy would be the obvious one. But... Now I feel like it has more to do with Maya just because of the items involved. Ugh. What's he talking about? Well, I can ponder that later. For now, Mr. Wright, you can't possibly believe that Mr. Rebel is the killer. Are you really going to send an innocent man to prison? I thought you were better than that. Well, Mr. Wright, answer me. Mr. Wright? Yeah, Phoenix has lost his mind. What in the world is going on here? Athena knows too. So why not tell Apollo? If you won't say anything, then... Mr. Titian Wimperson, the defense hereby... Apollo, wait! Not you too, Athena. It's just, I wasn't sure whether I should say anything, but... During that last recess when I went to check on Mr. Wright, here we go, I overheard something I shouldn't have. I trust Maya is unharmed. There we go.
No, I can't really say it, but just remember, if I'm arrested or fail to obtain the treasure, there will be consequences. Consequences of the worst kind, if you catch my drift. Ugh. Relax, all you have to do is ensure I get my hands on that relic. I must deliver it to my benefactor at all costs.
What do they want the relic for, anyway?
It's something to do with an old legend. My patron seeks the great power said to be granted to whoever solves its secret.
Maya as in Maya Fey? There we go. I was right. It was Maya. All right. We'll see how Apollo is going to handle this in the next episode. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.